Growing for Market podcast.
When I first started it was kind of like, I don't know if this will work. I am new at every part of owning a business. I've never run a business. I've never done marketing before. So everything has just kind of slowly grown organically. But I think, you show up and you have community and more people know what you do and you stick with high quality. You don't try to sell flowers that are several days old already. I think knowing when to cut a flower is really, really important, and it'll make your flowers be the ones that last almost 2 weeks. If you cut them at the wrong time, they could wilt the same day.
Hello, and welcome to the Growing for Market podcast, where we talk about growing, marketing, and the business of growing vegetables and flowers for local markets like farmers markets, CSAs, farm stands, and local wholesaling. I'm April Parms Jones, your host and a writer for Growing for Market magazine. For 33 years, the magazine for flower and vegetable market farmers. If you're enjoying the podcast, just wait until you see the magazine. Go to growingformarket.com for more. Also, if you could give us a follow and a rating, it really helps other like-minded people to find the podcast. And now, let's take a minute to hear from our sponsors. It's with their generous support that we can bring you the podcast for free.
Hey, it's Lindsay from Grown By. There are a lot of farm sales platforms out there, but there's only one that's cooperatively owned by farmers. And that's Grown By, your all-in-one solution to simplify farm sales. I'm proud and excited to share 2 new features now available on top of the tools you already know and love. Number 1, our customizable CSA box builder. It allows your customers to simply say what they'd like in their share, and Grown By matches their preferences with your weekly harvest. Number 2, our new wholesale-only marketplace. Developed with the Culinary Institute of America, it makes your life easier with a dedicated shop for your wholesale customers. No more texting those chefs, combining retail and wholesale inventories and records, and, drumroll, automatic payments on due dates. No more chasing down late payments. These new features sit alongside our popular online sales and traditional subscription CSA tools, making it easier than ever to manage your farm's business. As you start to get ready for next season, we'd love to hear from you and see if our cooperative can be a partner in growing your farm. Visit us at grownby.com. That's GROWNBY.com.
Are you tired of breakdowns and not knowing if your old Farmall or Alice G will start? Consider the Tillmor Super E, the electric cultivating tractor built for market growers. With up to 8 hours of runtime, the Super E uses a 48-volt electric system that's quiet, easy to operate, and dependable. You'll love the high clearance and clear view of your rows, perfect for cultivating, fertilizing, and planting with precision. And here's the best part. It starts at $19,500, and that includes 1 battery, charger, and everything you need to start using it right away. No gas, no noise, no constant repairs, and cheaper to operate than a gas tractor. It delivers reliable power that reduces manual labor and keeps your crew motivated. Learn more and see the Super E in action at tillmor.com. A well-built high tunnel is one of the smartest investments a small farm can make. It protects your crops, extends your season, and keeps income rolling in even through winter. Nifty Hoops builds complete Gothic high tunnels that are easy to install and built to last. Their easy, bolt-together construction makes setup straightforward and efficient, whether it's a small backyard hoop house or a dozen large production-scale high tunnels. Especially through their community build option, where professional builders work alongside your crew, family, or neighbors to build each structure, usually in a single day. Most growers go with Nifty's full setup: steel-framed end walls, roll-up sides, baseboards, double plastic with inflation, automated vents, and real doors, all priced to make the best choice the easy one. Nifty is a small crew out of Michigan using U.S. steel and working hands-on with growers across the country. They'll help evaluate your site, handle NRCS paperwork, and if they're building with you, they'll even float your cost share until after the build. Visit niftyhoops.com to learn more. Farm more seasons. Grow more food. Nifty Hoops.
Hello, I am April Parms Jones, and thank you so much for coming back and listening to Growing for Market podcast. Today, we have a very special guest in my hometown of Akron, Ohio. We have Elizabeth Kelly, and she is a manager and a grower of an urban micro farm in West Akron, and she specializes in selling cut flowers. She has a farm stand, and she also grows seasonal food, native plants, and flowers. And she's working to hybridize her own dahlia variety. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you, April. This is so fun. I've never been on a podcast before, so this was exciting.
Yes, podcasts are so fun. They're very hot and interesting right now. So, can you tell me, how did you get into growing flowers?
I'm not sure exactly how it started, but trying to think of that, the first time I remember growing flowers was like literally begging my mom for flowers to buy them when I was younger. But until I moved into my current location, I never had space to grow a lot. And so as I just decided, you know what, I'm going to take this landscape and I'm going to grow what I can. And it just spiraled from there. Like every year I was adding more, and then neighbors would ask for flowers and I would cut for them. And then it just kind of accumulated from there. And then I was running out of space to grow the dahlias that I wanted to grow. And I looked for additional space, and that was challenging too. So just slowly over time, it just kind of happened. And then I got to a point where I needed a job that was more flexible than working a standard 9 to 5. That wasn't working for me anymore.
That's amazing. And I love that you're saying, like, things just sometimes in life happen very organically. Like, you just start off with your passion and you love growing flowers. You actually had an opportunity to do that. And then it just slowly grew from there. Your neighbors, your community supported you. And then here you are today. So when you were selling to your neighbors, what about your flowers do you think drew your neighbors in? Was it just your passion for flowers or the colors that you chose?
I think some of it was just the transformation in my own yard. And in the spring, I would say I have the prettiest yard on the block, okay? Because I have flowers from January all the way through June, July. But I mean, it's just one flower right after another. I like to create a cottage garden style, like around my house. I consider that part of my personal collection. I really don't sell or cut out of there for bouquets that I sell anymore, but I think that just seeing the transformation got them interested. And then I just had an idea to set up flowers to sell. And somebody was running by and they're like, oh, this is such a great idea. And they had bought some. And then I was just like, well, I need something better because a strong wind blew my first stand over. And I was like, oh, well, I need something better than this. And it kind of just went from there. And I couldn't believe the success of my stand in my neighborhood. I do sell at a market, but I actually make more money at my house.
That's lovely. I love that. So I feel like the new trend is the ever blooming garden, right? That's blooming all the time. So if you have some thoughts about, could you walk us through what is your idea and your concept of the ever blooming garden? Because you said you start in January with planting, or the flowers actually planting?
Some flowers actually blooming. Yeah, starting to bloom in January and February. Yes.
Can we talk about that? That is spectacular.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah. So part of it is where I live, there is a lot of tree coverage. And I needed plants that, would bloom in low light or the undercarriage of the tree canopies. And one very lovely, lovely flower that I've come to absolutely adore is called a hellebore. And they come in all colors, varieties, and stuff like that. And some of them start blooming so early. Some of them will bloom in January. And then our Februarys can start to warm up, and that's when those early crocuses come out. March, the hyacinths and some of the tulips come out. There are ways also, daffodils are incredibly diverse. So they have like early blooming and late blooming also. There's like a whole variety of them. I can't think of all the names of them right now, but then there's alliums. Some of them bloom also at different times too, so you can get early to late. I grow on my property and my yard just with nature. So right now I don't have I have a very tiny, tiny little DIY kind of greenhouse, but I mean it's tiny. So I consider, and I only use that to get things ready to go outside. So most of the things that I grow, I just grow completely by nature because it's just what I have. And I've gotten used to it. So, but there's so many flowers that just bloom, and you plant them, a lot of them you plant once and you never have to plant them again. They'll spread on their own and they'll take over. Oh, there's also snowdrops. So I used to have some snowdrops. I'm pretty sure that deer ate them. So those can bloom really early too, like January or February.
That's amazing. And I think that's so good for our listeners to know because we have listeners all the way up to Canada. So we have listeners everywhere. But to know that you can start to decide and choose varieties that can start growing and blooming in January is such an extra boon and an extra kind of gift of growing that, most people aren't even cognizant or thinking about.
Sure. So this zone here in Akron, they say that it's zone 6 now, but I really consider it 5B to zone 6 because it really depends on how long of a hard winter we have. So, but there is an incredible amount of variety. So if somebody's living in a colder zone, those hellebores will bloom later for them. It just depends on when it warms up enough.
Absolutely. And I love that. And I love that your comment of working with nature. You said you grow with nature. And I really love that because that seems like it alleviates a lot of stress and complexity. And you just have to go with the flow and go with nature. I love that. How did you get that philosophy?
Necessity, I think. I grew up, I think creativity also, you don't have to have a lot of money really to create something incredible and beautiful. Sometimes it just takes sharing with your neighbors, doing a plant swap. That's kind of how I got quite a few of my perennials at first, was just seeing who I knew that had flowers that I really liked. You also have to be kind of brave too sometimes. So if you see somebody in the neighborhood and they're growing something and you think it's a perennial, go knock on their door and be like, "Oh my gosh, I love your garden. Have you ever considered splitting them off? Would you let me dig up a little bit?" And so that's how I got some of mine too, and also made really great friends in the neighborhood.
That is such a good idea. I love that idea of the concept of creating community through flowers. And sometimes I feel people, when you think of growing flowers, you think, oh, there's a lot of initial investment and cost that can be very prohibitive. But if you could just, like you said, do a plant swap, talk to your neighbor, sharing with the neighbor, bringing in more community members, because if somebody already has daffodils, those things replicate like little rabbits. So they're going to have more every year.
They can, and if you don't separate them every 3 to 5 years, they can actually start to choke themselves out.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So
it's good to give it away. It's good
It's good
for
sometimes, yeah.
yes.
Like if you're going to be changing things up, I figure for me, I dig enough in my yard that they're just I kind of already break them up a little bit anyways. So I haven't taken the time to separate mine, but if I ever see that they're not producing as many flowers, that's the first thing that I would think of is that they're not getting enough of what they need and I need to split them apart. So
I love that idea. I've grown dahlias, but I also have done daffodils. But I've had a hard time growing them in Akron for some reason. They didn't appear, so I don't know what happened. But it could have been the rabbits. Could have been the rabbits.
okay, so hungry deer, hungry rabbit, hungry wildlife, they don't typically eat daffodils, but if they're hungry, they're going to eat anything.
Okay.
So the best thing I would say is to maybe consider planting them in a mesh container, maybe if something is digging them up and like moving them out of your yard or actually eating them. Groundhogs don't typically get into them, but they can. So,
That's good to know. I love that idea, that concept of being able to plant in actual pots to preserve the thing that you're planting and making sure that rodents and other wildlife aren't eating it. Because that is sometimes very disappointing for growers, especially if you're initially starting out. Maybe you've put out a lot of upfront cost or you've shared with the neighbor and then it doesn't come to fruition and you're like, what happened? So that is a good starting place. You could do a couple in the ground and then also a couple in the pot and then see what happens.
yeah. I think the more you grow, the less animals eat. I don't know. That's my philosophy. You grow so many that it doesn't matter if a few of them don't make it.
I like that idea too. I think I only planted maybe 5, so it was not that plentiful. So that's good to know. So the more you plant, the more, if you lose some, you're not going to lose the whole crop.
It is really tough though when you go and you buy this like really fancy kind of thing, something that you want, and it doesn't turn out the way you wanted it. So I remember getting these daffodils. They were supposed to be pink. They weren't pink for me. They were just like a mix of yellow and orange. And I was just like, well, these are pretty, but they weren't pink. I wanted pink.
I didn't even know that was possible. That's amazing. So many varieties.
Yeah, they have some that are green, and I'm going to be getting some of those, I'm hoping. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's exciting.
And now let's take a minute to hear from our sponsors. It's with their generous support that we can bring you the podcast for free.
Today's episode of the Growing for Market podcast is brought to you by BCS America. On our farm, we've had our BCS two-wheel tractor for over a decade, and with no belts to slip, its all-gear-driven construction is still going strong. Though we originally got it for rototilling, we kept it even when we went mostly no-till because it can do so many other things around the farm. From snow blowing, to making raised beds with the rotary plow, to chipping wood, it can do just about anything you might need on a farm with the right attachment. Need to shred a cover crop? A BCS flail mower will make quick work of even the most vigorous cover crop and chop it up so it breaks down quickly. Want to stir in compost or amendments without inverting soil layers? A power harrow turns your BCS into a precise tilthing machine with depth control so you don't mix deeper than you want to. With so many attachments to choose from, it truly is the Swiss Army knife of farm implements. It's why, instead of saying two-wheel tractor, so many people just say BCS. Tractors and attachments are on sale through the end of the year. Visit bcsamerica.com to find sale pricing and your nearest dealer. Farmers who partnered with Farmhand grew an average of 63% this year because it's more than software. Farmhand acts as your business coach and assistant, helping you sell out, save time, and grow smarter. From marketing to fulfillment to customer support, Farmhand pulls real data from what's worked and what hasn't for other farms and turns it into websites that convert, campaigns that sell, and fulfillment systems that give you your time back. Curious what that looks like? Meet the founder, Ari, at farmhand.partners/GFM and see the same insights and support the fastest growing farms rely on every week. That's farmhand.partners/GFM. This episode is brought to you by Tend, the all-in-one AI-powered farm management platform trusted by modern growers. Whether you're growing vegetables, flowers, or fruit, or managing a nursery, greenhouse, or vineyard, you know how much time gets lost in planning, tracking, and staying organized. Tend helps you cut through the busy work so you can focus on growing and selling what matters. With Tend, you can plan your crops, assign and track tasks, manage inventory, and handle your sales and accounting all in one smart, easy-to-use platform. Whether you run a 1-acre farm or manage a large operation, Tend adapts to your scale and style, supporting everything from manual labor to fully mechanized workflows. Try it for free at tend.com. No credit card required. That's TEND.com. Streamline your season and grow with confidence.
And now, back to the show.
So when you're planning out, we're doing the ever-blooming garden, but then also do you have a color scheme that you focus on when you are growing out your flowers, or is that something that you do?
I do in my personal collection. I tend to stay with a lot of jewel tones, reds, purples. The alliums are like a purple and white. Just kind of like to have repeating color. I do have some of these flowers that I first saw when I was in Ireland. They're not native to Ireland or Ohio, but they're called red hot pokers, and they're orange. Actually, they're orange and yellow. But once you have a perennial in place for like 3 to 5 years, you can split it yourself and then move it to other parts of your garden to create that like repeating pattern.
That's amazing. And so when you're thinking about creating that ever-blooming pattern, how do you do it? Do you just do it in your mind, or do you put it on paper, or what are some strategies that flower growers can have to kind of expand?
My yard right now, just I would say a lot of it just kind of happened. And then like as the season grows, like if something, I feel like something's in the wrong place, I'll literally just dig it up and move it to somewhere else. But when you know what you want, and if you have the money to start it, it would absolutely be a great idea to put it down on paper. Like a lot of my original ideas start out on paper and then they morph into what they are.
When you're planning it and strategizing, do you find that later on you are changing it more? Like you have your initial plan. How much do you have to change it by the time you actually plant it in the ground?
Most of the time I know what I'm going to do before I do it, but I would say that things that I have or will change around, like some of the positioning of my flowers is some of the taller ones somehow ended up more towards the front than the back. So eventually I'll flip-flop them when I get the chance to do that.
So yeah, I see what you're saying. You're always sort of like assessing what's going on in the garden and then changing things as it comes along.
Yeah, this year there was like a lot of growth with some of my perennials. This is like their year that they just kind of exploded. And I noticed that I really didn't have a very good pathway in between them. So next year I'll probably focus on making sure like I have at least a small pathway for myself to be able to navigate through my beds.
We're here in Akron, Ohio, and I'm at the Akron Library, but across the street is the Akron Museum, and they have beautiful beds of perennials. So I feel like perennials are definitely becoming more hip and even getting more into the more commercial spaces, which is amazing because it's kind of an ever-blooming at the art museum. It's an ever-blooming format. So things are always popping up. There's echinacea, there's black-eyed Susans. I mean, there's just so much. There's like a little straw wheat thing that I'm not sure, but it looks beautiful. How did you decide to really hone in on the perennials?
Well, I used to think that I wasn't good at growing things. And I was like, okay, well, if this is a plant that I can plant and it doesn't need a lot of attention, then maybe it will be better for me. And it was. And so like when people tell me, oh, I can't grow anything, I said, I don't think that's true. What do you like? What have you tried? And they really haven't tried anything. They just have this idea that they can't grow anything. And I was just like, okay, well, the easiest thing to start with is something that, you know, you only have to water until you see new growth. and then you can forget about it, and it'll pretty much take care of itself. So that's really why I got into perennials, is because a lot of the work is just done for you by nature. So
Absolutely. I agree. You do work with nature. But you mentioned watering. So obviously watering is a big issue across the country because the weather fluctuates. Sometimes it's really warm, sometimes it's really cold. But during that really warm season, it does seem like the plants need more watering. So how do you sort of create that balance with your perennials? Do you do a no watering system or a low watering system?
at my house, I mostly don't water at all, but I do occasionally water. Like if I have planted something new, then I will. I just got a fruit tree this week and I planted it this week, and I'll make sure it gets several waterings before. This year is actually kind of different because we haven't had the rainfall in the fall or even this summer that we normally would have. So I probably will run water probably the first week in December just to make sure that they don't have a dry freeze.
I've never heard of that.
Well, the ground in some parts of my yard are so dry that if I had perennials there and the ground does freeze, the roots could die out because it's just too dry. The plants could suffer some dieback. So I'm hopefully going to be able to get them all watered. But it's not something that I'm really, it's not a high priority for me. But yeah, most things, especially native perennials, their root systems are so deep that they don't, even in times of drought, that they don't need watering.
Okay. You're saying such good stuff. I'm like, yes, let me write that down. Yes, I see. No, I think that's really important because not everybody has access, especially in an urban environment, to like well water, or let's quote unquote, let's just be honest, free water. And so watering can be so prohibitive and so expensive. And more people are not going to be able to run the numbers that are beneficial for them and to do that. So I love that idea of being able to be more self-sufficient, and back to, like you said, working with nature, growing with nature, that really allows people to free up so much time, money, resources, and just work with nature. And just really, like you said, focusing at the initial stage and then just letting it go from there.
Yeah.
And then you still get the beauty, though. I love it. You still get the beauty of the flowers.
Yeah. So if people are having an issue, a lot of times you can get free mulch. Sometimes you have to call around a little bit. A lot of people know about chip drop now. But even if you have a tree in your own yard that you have to have taken down for some reason, you can ask them to leave the chips.
Absolutely. Now, I have used chip drop. One time I had a house and it was so compacted with the dirt that it just basically was like if the rain came, the house would just flood away, basically. And so I had to get so many dump trucks of chip drop and just totally chip the whole front yard and then let it break down and create soil. And it was a whole process. Have you used chip drop in Akron?
I tried to, but I never actually got chip drop to come to my house. So I have reached out to GP Tree several times. If they're in the neighborhood, they kind of know that I'm looking for chips. But sometimes when places, if I hear somebody else getting their tree worked on, sometimes I'll just be like, hey, do you guys keep your chips? Do you have to dump them somewhere? Can you come dump them at my house? So that's worked for me a few times.
I love that. Being proactive. I love that. That's a great idea. Being proactive, talking to people if they're getting trees cut, because I don't know about you, but in my neighborhood, the trees are just boom, boom, boom. They're going down quickly.
They are going down fast in my neighborhood too. My neighbor told me that they were having theirs, a couple of trees taken down. And I was like, hey, are you guys keeping your chips? Can you have them drop them off at my house? And then they were like, yeah, sure. So
it's amazing.
They just dropped them at my house. Yeah.
Such nice neighbors. Yay, happiness. Yeah, and I agree with you. Now, I really have used the mulch as well, and it's been very effective in reducing the amount of water, keeping moisture in the soil, and helping my plants really thrive and, do well.
Yeah, especially if you know you have time to make a new bed, I would say just put a 6 to 8 inch layer of mulch down over like whatever area, then wait almost a whole season, a whole year, a whole season to put it in, and you will see that that dirt, that mulch, it is so much more moist, it is so much more available to use, and all the chips have already started to really break down and decompose. I'm about to put something on my stories because I have a spot in my yard where last fall, like a year ago, this fall, I put mulch down, but I hadn't done anything with that part of the yard yet. And then this summer, early summer, I had put mulch down in another part of the same section of the yard, and you could see the difference. Like it was so much drier under that new section than the one that was like a year old rather than 6 months.
Yeah. That's an excellent point to really put down the mulch, because when I put down the mulch, I have just put down plants and trying to grow right into that. And it has been problematic where it is very dry. And a lot of times the plants, it's about 50-50 if they make it. So that's a good strategy to really let it settle and then a whole year and then plant in.
If you have the time, it's a really good way. But mulch, I would always say mulch is always a good idea. Like 95% of the time, mulch is always a good idea.
Absolutely. And I think it also helps with the rain and just keeping the soil right there where you want it. Because sometimes the rain can be super intense now. It's like boom, 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 and then it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ever changing, working with nature. So you talked about a transformation of your front yard. So how long was that process of you starting out, getting some bulbs from some neighbors, and then transforming it into the beautiful flowers that you have now?
I would say a good 7 years, but I've been at the house now about 10, but I would say at the 5 to 7 year mark, you could see like a marked difference in the ways that the beds looked. And then, of course, about 5 years ago in 2020, when we didn't really have that much, I don't want to say we didn't really have that much to do, but you weren't going places, you weren't seeing anybody. And it's like the classic story now. Somebody just did more gardening in their backyard. And, my husband and I, we literally transformed our whole backyard in the last 5 years, but we did quite a bit of it in 2020 and 2021.
That's some good that came out that time.
I have no grass growing in my backyard at all. Like it started out as all grass and now there's no grass.
That's a blessing. No mower. That mowing can be tiring.
I still have plenty of grass to mow. I would love to just take out all of my grass and plant like creeping thyme. That would be a dream come true for me.
That would be really nice. I really kind of love the idea of a no-mow like yard. I'm also trying to get to the no-mow step by step. I'm only on step 1, so.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You could just do a little section at a time. I think Akron in general has become much more accepting of different things like no mow May. It is something that I've actually talked with some of the Akron city councilors about adopting like a no mow May, where we on purpose, not mow in May. It's so beneficial to wildlife not to mow. And I think just everybody taking a small little portion, like the metro parks have in the area, have basically challenged people to go wild in their backyard. So if you don't have a HOA or a homeowners association or something like that telling you what to do, or maybe you just grow some wild stuff in a pot, just let it, wild is beautiful too.
Yes, I agree. And it really is, like you said, it's a whole community endeavor of the metro parks and people in the community coming together and saying, this is what we want to do. We want to get to more perennials. We want to grow with nature. And we want to no mow. No mow.
Natives too, not just perennials. But so I've been swapping out some of my perennials that, or adding on to ones that are more native to Ohio. Like, I don't really want to get rid of my lavender, but
So true. Now, can you tell me more about your work with the native plants? How does that come about, and what natives do you enjoy?
I do a lot with milkweed and spreading milkweed about. I will give away free seeds to anybody who wants them. Now is the perfect time to plant them. If you see a milkweed pod, and just go ahead. If it's opened up, just go ahead, take those seeds and stick them about an inch under the ground. They do take 30 to 45 days sometimes to germinate. The first year that they grow, they probably won't have a flower, but they'll keep coming back. So mostly a love of butterflies has drawn me to more natives. I want to see every single butterfly in Ohio that Ohio could have in my yard. So I'm trying to have every single host plant, and then soon I will offer those for sale. Once I have enough of them and they're established enough, I will try to sell host plants for other people too. So if you have the plant that the butterfly needs to grow and make more butterflies, then you'll see that butterfly in your yard. That's my philosophy.
And butterflies add such wonder and beauty. They're so majestic. They're such a treat every time you see them. And so I love that idea, bringing in the butterflies.
Yeah, that's I have a whole section of my yard on one side that's mostly 95% native plants, and all of them are host plants for butterflies or moths.
And do you feel like you see more of them? Do you feel like it's bringing more beauty to your garden?
I have seen quite a few. I don't think I've seen any new this year, but this year I've seen more monarchs than I have ever in my yard.
It's so nice. It's so beautiful.
It was very, very cool. Yes. Yeah. So cool.
It is so cool. I feel as if in the past I've seen more butterflies. I feel like the butterflies have kind of fallen off. Like the amount that I've seen in my own personal garden. I saw a couple this year, but I would love to see more. They're so much fun.
They are fun. It's not native, but butterfly bush very much attracts all pollinators, and they will come to your yard. But I think they'll especially seek out your yard if you have those host plants, the plants that they need.
And speaking of pollinators, because you have more pollinators, do you see a more productive vegetables that you're growing as well?
I haven't had any trouble getting things to produce fruit. I do have an issue with groundhogs. So the past few years at my house, I've had very high groundhog pressure, and groundhogs like to eat a lot, and they pretty much have made me move to like growing some things like not at my house. They do like tomatoes. They will taste test every single one that you have. They will eat any bean, lettuce, legume down to the ground and nub. They will eat so much. And at my house, I cannot, even though I have a fenced in yard, I can't seem to totally keep them out. I did catch 2 this year in a have a heart trap and safely and legally moved them to a new location. So you can't put them on a private residence or let them go anywhere unless you have permission. So a friend of mine took them to her homestead. So
oh, how kind. How kind. So when you started the flower stand, can you walk us through that process? And
when I started the flower stand, or
yeah, the flower stand at your house.
Okay. I started that, this was my 3rd season with my flower stand. And the first season, I started it kind of late. It didn't end up into the fall. So the only thing I ever had on it was like dahlias and tomatoes. And it did really well. It pretty much paid for itself after 2 weekends. So yeah. Like, I was blown away. I still feel incredibly grateful for my neighborhood. I do know that friends and family and followers have come to the farm stand after seeing it, but I know a great portion of it is just the neighborhood and the traffic and consistency. So I do fresh flowers on Fridays. And next year, hopefully it'll be Wednesdays and Fridays, so as often as I can. So when I first started it, it was kind of like, I don't know if this will work. I am new at every part of owning a business. I've never run a business. I've never done marketing before. So everything has just kind of slowly grown organically, and I still don't feel like I have a great grasp on the marketing side, but I think, you show up and you have community and more people know what you do, and you stick with high quality. You don't try to sell flowers that are several days old already. I think knowing when to cut a flower is really, really important, and it'll make your flowers be the ones that last almost 2 weeks. If you cut them at the wrong time, they could wilt the same day. So
Absolutely. Now, I get a CSA with the kale next door, and I added on to my CSA flowers, and I was shocked at how long the flowers were able to last. I mean, I got the CSA every week, but sometimes my flowers would last 2 to 3 weeks.
yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing. And then if they dried, they were still really beautiful and stunning. And I mean, I had flowers everywhere. Some dried, some alive. It was a flower bomb in my house. But it was so comforting and so much joy and so much happiness.
Oh, I had one customer this year. She was just like, I'm going to have my sister pick up because I just have too many flowers right now. I'm like, you have anybody you want pick up.
Exactly. Flowers bring such joy and happiness and comfort, so much comfort as well.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
I agree with you.
So you said you expanded. You expanded beyond your yard. How was that process for you?
Well, originally I reached out to some people that I knew through a food swap group that I also belonged to. They had farms, they had extra space. I was just like, hey, I'm really trying to find more spaces to grow my dahlias at. And would you ever let somebody grow on your property? We can talk about price or whatever. And I asked several places. I did get an enthusiastic yes from one place that was actually 20, 30 minutes away from me. And at the same time, I also got another yes from a place that was 10 minutes away from me. And I felt like that was much more doable. So I grow at my house, and then I also have a small land lease through another place called Bath Hallow Farm, and they are a wedding venue, actually.
So do you grow for the actual weddings as well, or you just grow on the...
I think if somebody approached me and they were having a wedding there, I do sell large buckets. But I'm not a professional florist, so right now I'm not offering to do somebody's wedding flowers or create installments. But if they wanted to buy from me, if I don't have another event that people are already getting flowers from, then I will. But all together, so I grow here at my house, and then I also grow at Bath Hallow Farm. But all together, it's still less than a half an acre that I grow on.
That's amazing. That's amazing that you have such a small space, but you're able to produce so much. And I think that's sometimes a misnomer. People feel like they have to have acres of land in order to be successful or to, just to grow the business. And that's not necessarily true.
No, in fact, if I lost the place at Bath Hallow, which I don't think I will, I think it's a really good, lasting relationship there. But even if I did, I think I would still be able to continue at home. I like to grow something new every year. This year I grew a jelly, not to get away from flowers, but I did grow a jelly melon plant. And so it's this really neat plant with these spikes on it, and it turns a bright orange. And when you cut it open, it looks like green jello, and it tastes like cucumber jello.
Oh my gosh. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I love it. So I met you at the Let's Grow Akron Farmers Market in Summit Lake area, and you have beautiful flowers. You also have super duper delicious, amazing, spectacular bread.
Thank you.
Let me
Thank
say
you.
that. My family is like eating it up. And like you had cookies and beautiful English muffins. And I mean, the whole spread of everything is delightfully delicious.
Thank you. I really got excited about making stuff with sourdough. It isn't something that I considered, selling anywhere else except for at the farmers market until this year. I did have a little bit of success, and now I do have some people that order occasionally outside of the house. So I'll do sourdough crackers. I do have the sourdough English muffin. There's 2 cookies. All of it's made with sourdough, though.
It's amazing. And it really digests so well.
Thank you.
It's so tasty.
Aww.
I mean, it is just spectacular.
I'm so blessed that it did so well. This year was the first year I decided to try bread at the farmers market, and I could not keep enough there. So like the most that I made there was 12 loaves like in a week, but that was a lot. That was stretching it. And it was much harder to focus on the flowers if I was trying to grow bread. So I think either I need to hire more people or...
Yeah, you're a true Akronite. We just work ourselves. We just work ourselves to the nubs. Then we're happy.
Well, I had some goals, man. So I had some goals this year, and I came very, very close to meeting them. So I'm very happy. So I do grow like at 2 locations, and like there is some amendments that I'm going to be doing at Bath Hallow to make the soil. It's a very heavy clay. It's not terrible to grow in, but it is kind of difficult. So I'm going to be reorganizing that space. I'm going to be adding an item called Soil Perfector, and what it does is you mix it in. I really didn't want to till again, so it's been 3 years, and I really didn't want to till again, but the clay is so heavy and so thick that I think the Soil Perfector is you only have to apply it once. And so what it does for the clay, and a lot of clay in the Akron area and all over the country, is I believe what it does is helps create aeration in your soil, and then the actual pieces will take moisture out of the ground when it's wet and release moisture when it's dry.
Oh, wow.
So I believe it's an aggregate that's made from lava rocks, but I can't remember exactly, and I apologize.
No, there's always so many new products that are coming out. And that one seems very key because keeping moisture in is so important. And especially like we talked about, the weather is always fluctuating. It's really hot. It's really cold. And you need an extra boost for sure. So we talked about your dahlias. Can you talk to us about the brand new flower that you're going to work with the Dahlia Society?
So I am trying to create my own dahlia. So you start a dahlia from seed, and when you do that, it is a complete unique genetic system. And so I saved seeds from a favorite set of flowers, and then I grew them out one year. I kept my favorites, and I like to call this one like a sunset color. My daughter kept one that she really liked, but I'm probably not going to grow that one again. Let me see. This one is what they would call like a ball dahlia, and it would be like a formal decorative, I believe. And it kind of like has hues of orange and yellow. I think it looks like a sunset. It's really pretty. And in order to introduce a new dahlia, you have to grow it out to make sure the genetics are stable for like 3 years. So next year would be my 3rd year. It's still considered a seedling, even though I'm growing it from tubers now, but this year was my second year with it. Then the third year would be a third year seedling. And I need to have enough tubers to be able to send to what they call like trial gardens. And though those are all over the country, and I'm doing it through the Dahlia Society. I'll work with there's a local Ohio society that I'll work with to get into their trial gardens, and then there's some that are all over the country. So you want to make sure that you're also a member of the American Dahlia Society as well, and get into those trial gardens. So they'll try them out, they'll evaluate them for you, and then I'm not sure of the exact process, but I do believe then you'll be able to name them and you can have a variety listed as. And right now, it's a unique variety just to me. So if you get a subscription or buy flowers from my stand, sometimes you'll be able to get those. But definitely people who buy into the Dahlia subscriptions, I make sure that they get those flowers that are just special. They're unique. They're only going to be found at my house from me.
That is true flower power. I mean, that's so impressive to be able to say, I grew this from a seed and now I am naming it and now I can like send it out across the country. I mean, that's amazing.
That's the dream, living.
You're living the flower dream. That is right. That is so true. Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining. I mean, it's just been it's a blessing. You've shared so much information from how you can have an ever-blooming flower farm, how you can transform yourself and your garden and your home with flowers, how to do a flower stand, marketing is in going to the market, selling at the market, how to have beds, how to mulch, and perennials. I mean, we've just discussed it all. And then we've ended on a very strong note, creating your own flower. You too can create your own flower. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
A huge wealth of knowledge.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Growing for Market podcast. If you've been enjoying the show, please consider giving us a follow and a rating or review. It really helps others to find the podcast. For more tips and tricks from farmer to farmer, check out our magazine at growingformarket.com. Whether you're a commercial grower or just want to grow like one, subscribe to Growing for Market magazine for the nitty-gritty of growing, marketing, and the business of market farming. We publish 10 issues per year, with articles written by experienced farmers on topics ranging from tools and techniques to farm business, operations, and marketing. If you've been listening to the Growing for Market podcast and haven't yet checked out Growing for Market magazine, we've made a change so you can try the magazine for free. We've added a free month to the beginning of all first-time subscriptions. Try out the digital or paper magazine, and if it's not for you, cancel within 28 days, and you'll never get billed. With digital subscriptions starting at just $39 per year, you'll get a year of the magazine plus 150 back issues from the last 15 years. Head over to Growing for Market and subscribe today to benefit from over 3 decades of writing by farmers for farmers and Growing for Market magazine.